I don't know, man. Like, that series was a head scratcher. There were so many things happening, which just kind of left us like wondering what is going on. Can we argue that they tried to hold back strats or trying new things? I don't know. There was a lot of hero swapping. Then their whole thing where Geekay kept on deferring their bans.
This is not right.
They did it twice. Yeah, ignore what you're seeing right there. Hopefully it's not right. Yeah, so they left us wondering today. If this is correct, then we have even more questions.
I mean, yeah, at that point, just throw everything out the window, Rich.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, when it comes to Geekay playing yesterday, this map specifically, since we're highlighting it, there was 11 hero rotations on that map. Like, Vega had made a comment about this where it was basically acknowledging that there was this, you know, bringing in of Malga and attempting to try and do that alternatively to what their normal composition was. And it was just something that, yes, like you said, it was a head scratcher. We really didn't quite know exactly what had happened to this team when they've played so powerfully and in such strong fashion previously, and you know, making that kind of joke of maybe there's some undercover strats here wanting to try and get themselves, you know, to work through Nightmare just enough to where they coast in at least their minds to then unleash whatever tactical thought that they have onto Team Liquid, who's waiting in the wings. You never know. We've seen some stuff like that in Collegiate.
Okay, we actually have a corrected, updated Geekay roster, just to keep us all on our toes. There it is. Okay, few less questions, but that doesn't make up completely for what happened yesterday. Again, I cannot make sense of the whole, like, deferring the ban thingy. Like, that's just, I don't know what it actually does, really. So, yeah, I don't know. We expected to see more from Geekay as well, as they were just an absolute top dog all stage long, right? So it was just a little confusing. Nightmare, what do we want to see from them? What have we learned throughout the playoffs, Johnny?
All right. Yesterday, it was just an absolute beatdown against SSG. That was an absurd performance. Chronic was just on fire. Rocket as well, with this minor damage buff to Tracer, has just made a world of difference in the outcome of these games. And if they come out playing like that against Geekay today, I honestly think that Nightmare could win in this matchup, which they should be the underdog. They shouldn't be favored in this one. But their damage players are just so amazing when they're firing on all cylinders, and they really brought out some of the best gameplay yesterday. So I can't wait to see it again. I think that they should be struggling against Geekay, who has been the top team all stage long until yesterday. But with Nightmare playing like they did yesterday, I don't know what is going to happen.
Well, we're about to find out. The teams are ready, so are we. So let's send it over for our casting duo for all things NA. It's Javro.
Here's with the Javril this time. You know what? I kind of like it. Let's warm
Run with the charged Javril, get the piercing damage in there. We don't pick the shield poke here. We don't pick the shield poke. Me personally, you as well. We're out here.
You kidding me? Stadium Reinhardt player? No shield perk for me. Only hammer swings and fire strikes. All right, Avril, let's get into this series. Geekay versus Nightmare. The finals, Team Liquid. It's going to be a rematch guaranteed. Team Liquid have beaten both Nightmare and Geekay to make it to that grand final spot. Geekay losing their first match of Stage 2 as well. They went flawless in the regular season, but lost 3-1 to Liquid yesterday.
And a really interesting one. You know, we had some questions asked about those early two maps, played a lot of the Malga, came through, even if you remember the Lucio Moira in there as well, which I won't blame people if they forgot, because it's one that you kind of want to forget. It's like, man, what was that comp at the end of Circuit Royale? It kind of just got ugly for them. I liked what they were doing at the start. You could see that they wanted to play through potential Zarya gameplay into the Orisa. Looked fine, but then things just got messy. We saw a bit of a comeback on King's Row, but even then, the 3-1 was just locked in for Team Liquid.
All right, let's jump on to Oasis, our first map to open us up. Team Liquid beating Geekay yesterday 2-0 on Oasis. And Team Liquid also beating Nightmare on this map as well, another 2-0. So both these teams have not won Oasis recently, not even won a single round in the playoffs on it. So yeah, as we load on in, Geekay banning the Tracer and a Hazard ban for Nightmare.
I actually think that's a concern for me. The Hazard going this early is something that you don't want to see, because you want to save the Hazard ban in a counter to when that eventual support protect comes in for like a Circuit Royale or a King's or a Dorado, something like that. You know Geekay eventually is going to play Life Weaver BAP, and when that comes through, you You want to make sure you can get rid of the hazard. If you get rid of the hazard now, it makes things a lot easier for GK moving forward in the future.
Reaper look for a rocket here. NTMR and Geekay TPing out Mymone on the signature Sombra as Chronic is over to the Freya. We saw Chronic yesterday. Every single character that guy was playing, it was just world-star performances, honestly. The Cassidy, the Sojourn, and the Freya.
So I can tell you right now, the Reaper is potentially in response to the possibility that Cuppa could roll out on the Malga kit, which he played extensively yesterday. Is that the Sombra coming in?
Oh,
he goes,
wait.
He's already dead, okay.
What? Yeah, Painkiller just got insta-booped off map. That's not a good start at all for NTMR. That's a quick reset.
I was going to mention the Mymone Sombra, so I believe he actually picks up a 3k here. Rocket now moving over towards the Genji. Now that he sees that the Malga is not going to be there, there's also not going to be a Winston. Given that there's a hazard ban, those could have been options for GK. Mymone wants to come through knowing that Chronic is absolutely going to be Freya, so he wants to be able to shut down the Freya Chronic straight away.
Rocket struggling to make an entrance here as Lethal's holding down the fort. Who good? Just to the right-hand side. Mymone, here's the invis again as Lethal ends up going down on the high ground. Painkiller not wanting to dice with Admiral too much. He is on height currently. They do end up trading their hit scan players as Chronic also ends up falling, but still in control of the point is GK. Issues right now is arising that NTMR, well, they're hacked up and still trapped in this spot, but they're just getting booped around and manual hacked from the side. It's been tough for Painkiller to make any space.
Getting ults though, Lucamino surviving here. Rush coming on in, UV can't respond, he's got the window.
Oh, yeah, and cover instantly explodes, so that window unable to be used by anybody on GK's side.
Now the fight likely to be over. Maybe a couple of cleanups here. GK's still holding on, but they've lost the point. NTMR will be able to finish up the last few members. 50% is okay for GK, but not really enough of a lead to give you too much confidence right now as Lep. You do see a roughly 20% or 30% lead that could be interesting moving forward.
Mymone only 60% ult charge right now. It's farmed a little bit, but not quite as much as like Rocket has, who is now on the Genji. Lep just got hacked. Lep hacked, insta-killed there by Mymone. I imagine that was a virus connection on top of that. High noon for Lethal. Making the high ground play, scurry for cover as he moves in onto the points. Nice little spear, though, is going to cancel that high noon, but the annihilation from cover is going to push them forward. A Terror's Urge and a very early Suzu, in fact, from Lucamino. Lep does end up bandaging, triaging the wound, though, from that annihilation with that sound barrier. Doesn't hit Lucamino, but didn't need to.
Well, Amor doesn't have sound barrier, and that's the problem. He ends this one on 99. The team falls apart around him. Cuffer now swapping over towards, not just the Winston spawn tech, never mind it. Use the annihilation, gets a free swap to just be able to push on forward and leap. We're going back to, of course, the Ram. Now this time we're waiting for the EMP. There isn't going to be a sound barrier to save NTMR from this EMP, so look out for it. It'll be a bit of a game changer.
Painkiller manually hacked. Virus misses.
It's an easy virus miss.
Yeah, it was very wide. Whoops, Daisy.
Okay.
Oh, it hit Painkiller. Don't worry, that wasn't a mem. It hit Painkiller, but it didn't do much, I'm going to be honest with you. Lamp ends up coming down, and in response to this blade is going to be the beat and the Lamp to save Ultraviolet. Rocket chased out of there, no dash reset to get out of the fight, so taken down by the sharpshooter in Lethal. There's going to be a rush from Lucamino to push themselves back onto the point. They still end up controlling as well, so this is going to be good. An Ultraviolet's window at a bit of an awkward angle. A disruptor shot on the high ground as Chronic takes him out with the railgun, but a 1v1 versus Lethal, you're losing that 9 times out of 10 on level playing field, as NTMR lose the point at 96.
That's a disgusting challenge from Chronic as well. Just slides and jumps directly into UV, knowing the window's up and gets the kill anyway. Yes, they lose the fight, but those types of plays will give you confidence for the rest of the series, knowing that Chronic is very heated up. As Mymone swaps over to his own Genji now. I'm not really enjoying what I'm seeing out of that Sombra. Nice manual hack earlier, but EMP just not getting value.
Oh, Admiral. Wrong place, wrong time, buddy. High noon used by Lethal, gets taken out. Another nice jump shot there from the Sojourn, and well, this is a bit of a flat finish here for Geekay. Looking like roadkill on tarmac as NTMR roll over them in that last fight with the team kill and claim round 1.
We saw the teaser from Chronic in terms of what he was able to do in previous fights, but will be the OC to just close the door on round number 1. And again for GK, the Sombra pick, you can see pressure onto Chronic's Freya. Chronic then swapping over towards the Soj. I'm just waiting to see what kind of value we get out of EMP. Only hitting the solo tank of Painkiller. I believe it was Suzu'd out straight away as well, because that EMP, that hack
it was.
notification was gone like
almost
within a second. You could see that from his POV. It looks like Mymone wanted to go for the potential solo EMP
onto the Lucio, onto Lep, but Lep just flies past him. I'm not too sure I would have agreed with that play anyway. So moving away from the Sombra, but as Chronic comes back onto the Freya, it's possible that my moment, yeah, he reads it. He's saying, this is another good potential Freya map. We want to shut down the Freya. Let's play it one more time, because you know what else we're playing? It's the Bat straight away.
Okay. Well, Chronic, okay. Chronic and Lep just instantly die. All right, reset. And this has been the big question as well for Geekay. When are they pulling out this backline? And this seems like the perfect stage for it in City Center.
Well, it can work pretty well with the Winston, and the Hazard especially. So it's interesting that Cover's not on the Hazard. You would have expected that to come through. And the Malga from Nightmare now. So they see the Winston. Rocket wanted to play the Reaper into either the Winston or maybe the Malga, something you can just shoot the shotguns into. But the PK Malga is the really interesting choice.
Ultraviolet stuck with one take aim, but doesn't take any additional supplemental shots there from Chronic. Manual hack onto Chronic though, and Lethal and Mimone end up taking it down. One of the hard carries of Nightmare already. And this is the problem with this backline, Avril. It's nigh and unkillable sometimes. Actually get shield danced, get owned. Oh my.
We think on this map it should be much better, but the problem is I think Nightmare's comp isn't built to take down the Bat Lifeweaver. It's built to pressure out Cuffer on the Winston. So many heroes specifically to be able to do that. Cuffer's going to struggle on the Winston just given the entire frontline setup. However, there's no Tracer here. That's part of the reason why the Tracer ban actually works quite well for GK is if you are going to play the Beaver comp, Tracer and just flanking in general can get behind the Beaver comp and put the pressure on the backline, but when you can't access the backline at all, then GK can win by default.
Wait, we're calling it the Beaver comp now because of the tree? Like that.
Bat Weaver.
Bat Weaver,
yeah, I guess the
Beaver.
tree works too, maybe.
Oh, wait, that does it. A double meaning. Oh, the tree. Well, it's dead. Almost instantly on that rush. Cover ends up getting caught out there, and like you said, is going to struggle in this matchup. A high ground window here for you, Ultraviolet, although saying that, sorry, it was on the low ground. It was just Ultraviolet sailed to the high ground to try and get out of there. Still, though, the Geekay are controlling the point, and now Kuffer is back, close to this Primal Rage. They've lost their Sombra, so no EMP available for this fight, but it might not matter. This unkillable backline just refuses to die.
And it's very hard for Cuffer to die as well, because if the grip is there available, then Cuffer's going to pop off. He's just going to primal into the backline and caged up. It's a bit of a problem, but he's kind of safe at the moment. Oh, maybe not.
He still ends up killing Lucamino, though. All right, well, there's going to be the touch at least for Nightmare. But the focus fire on Painkiller is going to be good, and EMP as well. Just rock the systems of Rocket and Painkiller. Mimo now last player alive. He's got that seed to play around with if he really wants, and he's just going to try and stall out for some additional time. But yeah, can't stay around for long. Too many players for Nightmare on the point.
The big thing here as well, this might be his first sound barrier. He hasn't had the beat just yet. Would have been nice to play through. Certainly won't have it in time to do anything about the EMP, which already came in the previous fight. 99 setup for GK. And again, a very frontline focus, front to back type of composition for Nightmare, which should put the pressure on the Cuffer. But if Admiral's on point, you just have enough healing, you have enough bailout solutions. Okay, speaking of bailout solutions, there's one.
Easy. So the government bailout of the banks is just so easy, but it's so painful for the other side of things. Rocket ends up getting taken down by Mimo. Now Chronic trying to be the difference maker in this fight, but Lep ends up dying. That's Nightmare losing 2 players already.
This should be
and
round.
Once again, Geekay's backline refusing to die in the high ground, just taking out Chronic. Window on the point, and that'll be all she wrote there for City Center. Geekay, they're tying Oasis up.
Admiral even adding the damage in there with the Thorn Explosion perk, and really for Nightmare, I think they were a little bit too focused on saying, okay, we just want to kill this Winston, but they never really got him. Outside of the cage, being dropped in, Cuffer's just living, but we are going to Ruins, or not Ruins rather, onto University. I was thinking about Ilios. But here on Oasis, this is where the Freya is just going to have maybe limited utility given the lack of ability to take height. There's still reasonably high like ceilings on this map, so maybe Chronic will lock it in again, but you are just going to see more Sombra. My issue is into the Beaver comp, I think you need more flanking. I think you might want to look back towards the Genji. Tracer would have been nice. You may even start to consider your own Sombra, which despite it not destroying the tree or anything, that was patched out a long time ago. Just being able to access the backline is so important, but you're not going to see the life move back here, not on this round.
Hacking that mini too on this little room here on the side. is going to be pretty crazy for both Lethal and Ultraviolet. Hard for Nightmare to wrap into that small corridor as well. That is a lot of extra supplemental healing. Of course, the health packs regenerate a lot quicker when they are hacked, so that healing output is a little while. Can't be underestimated. Cuffer ends up going Nemesis form there in the front line, and classic Mauga. Just the Mauga versus... Sorry, not the Mauga. The Ram versus the Orisa front lines. They're just so silly. It's just trading cooldowns, waiting for the DPS to do something, or the DPS in this case being Ultraviolet.
Tell you what, it's not as silly as Ram versus Ram mirrors where they're just both holding hands.
Yeah, just punching each other. Yeah. It's so
well, not even punching each other, just both looking at each other, just blocking. You know?
Yeah, that is true.
That's my favorite.
Nice late kill there on Painkiller.
Which is what you expect. Lethal, this is why he chooses the cast, right? He understands that PK's best hero is going to be the Orisa. It's going to be a lot of Nightmare Orisa today, which means Lethal can come through, find massive value on the Cassidy. Most fights. Speaking of value, UV first up on the window. Big lead onto Luke Nino.
So hard to step up here already. Look at how much damage Ultraviolet has done. He's already got the window. They're using the High Noon. Not letting go of that High Noon too early, though. Chronic still had the deflect in his back pocket.
Yeah, Rocket was still in line of sight, deflecting away. PK spinning. Window.
But wait, Lucamino just got through the window. Cuffer landed that directly on his head. That Vortex. Nice stuff there from Cuffer, who says tanks can't aim. All right, Nightmare, they're struggling, man. Like, what's the game plan? Because Mimone has EMP.
It has to be tempo beat here, but again, you have to consider EMP. So how has Nightmare read this one? Do they believe that Mimone has EMP yet? Because if Mimone has EMP, Lep might want to hold this, but we're also looking for entry.
He's dead.
There it is. We have entry.
All right, Chronic. There's a railgun shot through the eyes. Now, Leb uses that sound barrier very close to Ajaxing there. Ends up running away, of course, from the Ramarcha, using that Annihilation. And here's Chronic, finally online with this overclock. Takes down Avril. Should be a fairly easy flip there for Nightmare, but still 81%. And look at the ultimates for Geekay. They've still got EMP, and they got beaten 5.
Yeah, the EMP not being in that last fight, that was super important. The fact that Chronic got Mimone allows Lep to then use the sound barrier safely to counter out Cuffer. I say safely, again, he used it on low HP, but needed to come through, needed to land. And of course, for Nightmare, we asked the question, what is the entry game plan here? Chronic Go Kill is the card that they can still play.
Virus on to Painkiller. Terror Surge still available. The extra lifeline. Although Painkiller ends up getting hacked. An EMP straight on to Rocket. Although it's already going to do too much, but it puts Painkiller in an awkward spot. Manually hacked, then EMP, I believe, did connect as well. So Geekay using a whole bunch of their ults in that fight. 2 critical ones, that beat and that EMP, but they're getting the flip like this, and a team kill puts Nightmare on final fight.
It's an insane timing as well, because you see that Rocket wanted to go for the blade, setting up with Painkiller on his Terror Surge, but as soon as he gets hacked, then he's low HP after the EMP. His team's already starting to fall apart, so just too difficult. Now it's coming down to Luke Meter, Rush and Blade.
Blade, UV's already dead. Lethal alone there. Ends up missing the nade. As Rocket just swinging at air right now, but still managed to land a couple of slashes on to Cuffer. Mimone takes out Lep, so only one support available for Nightmare, but Geekay know without Ultraviolet, they cannot stay in this fight too long. UV will come back in a couple of moments, and they might be able to get a free flip here, but Nightmare, they're at 54%. They just need to hold on. Mimone down, Lep gets revenge, as Geekay decide maybe better at this fight and go for one more.
Yeah, well, they have ultimates coming back in Annihilation. Look at the timing here as well. Cuffer's got Annihilation, and Lep does not have anything to counter. It's going to come down to Chronic trying to either find an early first pick or finding this OC. You always can count on Chronic to do something. However, what else can Nightmare help him with? What else can Nightmare bring to the table?
Uh-oh. What? Wait. What? Excuse me? Excuse me? Lethal? Yeah, okay. He just kills the backline. Oh, yeah. Sharpshooter. My word. How does that happen? Just triple taps the backline and that's it. That's map. Geekay off the back of Lethal's Cassidy, no less. Ends up taking the first map.
Nightmare just needed a little bit more time, slightly more percentage to play through, a bit of time to survive, and really insane that Lethal is able to get double supports on entry. I think even one support on entry is more than enough. One support on entry already puts the pressure on, already puts this thing on a timer. And at that point, you really need to see a response from Nightmare. But we end this one with Chronic just barely finding OC before he dies in the last second, and the fight's over, so he can't pop it anyway. So just an unfortunate situation. I thought the win was going to come through from the Cuffer Annihilation, maybe Lethal using Deadeye to enter, zone out the enemy. Tougher then walks in, sets up Annihilation on point for the flip, and there's no response except from Chronic because Lep is too far behind on the sound barrier. What an interesting little map here, because we even saw the Winston on that second round in City Center, backed by the Lifeweaver Bat, which I think might be the only real way to play through the Winston. Okay.
Oh, we just...
Well, this is the last fight, but...
It is the last fight, yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't get the POV part of like how he actually landed those 2 shots earlier on the 2 supports. It's possible that they were aggressively positioned, but at the same time, like, I can't see them being that far forward, surely. It's a weird one. I'm just impressed by that second round win because I didn't expect the Winston to come through at all in any of our matches. But man, Tougher got it done.
Look good with it too. City Center is probably the best map for that backline as well. The Beaver comp, the Lifeweaver, and the BAP. Okay. Look, GK have been undefeated all season, only lost 4 maps in regular season, and at the end of the day, playoffs, I think everybody expected them to have a straight shot through to the finals, win that upper bracket, easy kind of steamroll. Wasn't the case yesterday with that Team Liquid series. In fact, like, they even deferred most of their bans as well, which is a very interesting strat, which just didn't end up working out.
And I want to say, if this ends up being and I'll play through this hypothetical here. If this is a rematch between GK and Team Liquid in the finals, that Lifeweaver BAP composition, I don't think would work again on City Center or Oasis or another control map. And the reason why is because of Infected's ball. This is a situation where specifically against Painkiller, you know he's not going to bring out the ball against you. So that's why you can safely play this Beaver backline. They also ban Tracer, they being GK. So 2 really strong flankers that can access you, especially potentially get you in the high ground as well. Rocket is not on the Genji, which would have been another position, another choice that would have helped out a lot. I just didn't think that Nightmare put themselves in the best position to take down the Lifeweaver BAP. And we're going to go to Circuit Royale here, which is Nightmare's choice. And you have to imagine that with first ban, you immediately have to target this Lifeweaver BAP backline. And I don't think you can ban the BAP because that would target yourself unless you want to play Lucio Kiriko, in which case, absolutely ban the BAP. That must be your first ban.
That has been the case. If teams go to this map and don't want to play against Lifeweaver BAP has been the ban to go for. But like you said, maybe it does hinder you a little bit. Look at the map win percentage here for both sides. I mean, look, obviously Geekay going to be a little bit better, but both teams already sitting at 50%.
That 100% is kind of crazy.
Yeah, on hybrid
that's
is
rare.
Wild. Yeah.
I don't even think Crazy Raccoon had a 100% win rate on any map types based on memory. Maybe one. Maybe
there it is.
No, actually, I think they might have had a hybrid, but it was just barely played. And as mentioned, it's going to be BAP, but also Rissa on the other side. So Tougher wants to keep this one within the bounds of Ramatra. I don't think the Zarya is going to come through because Zarya would probably only be played into a Rissa. Targeting PK here is pretty nasty as well. But I was going to say that if there is a reason not to ban the BAP, and that's if you want to run the BAP yourself, because BAP is really strong on this map, obviously, and a lot of teams want to also play it, you can still deny just by banning the Lifeweaver is effective enough. So what this really telegraphs is that they want to play Lucio Kiriko.
Let's have a look. Loading on into Circuit Royale. So as the map Team Liquid won against Geekay yesterday. 2-1 was the scoreline, and it wasn't that close, to be honest. It was a very hard push for Geekay without the Lifeweaver BAP. I mean, you're going into that one, and Team Liquid ended up banning the Lifeweaver. It wasn't the BAP that they banned, and they were Geekay banned Tracer. Again, this was them deferring this ban as well, which was very interesting. Let's have a look at the backline for Geekay, though. Okay, they're still running with the Lifeweaver. They're going with something super aggro, though. Alari for UV.
Well, that is going to be quite different. They still want to run the Lifeweaver. I don't know if I love this comp as much without the BAP. Now, obviously, I did mention that because Hazard was banned early, that's no longer an option, which means Cuffy gets to play part of the strength of the composition. I do believe the composition is best when you play it with Hazard, but you kind of want the extra BAP for the damage, the extra lamp bailout. Pylon's not going to have that value, but what will be available here as, okay, well, the game's already just in a bit of a roll here for GK.
Right. Yeah, they tried to push this small mega health pack route. I mean, to be fair, the Alari doesn't have like the saving capability. Oh, you throw out a lamp to save somebody, right? But the amount of damage the Lifeweaver does is comparable to the Baptiste, maybe even a little bit more, because you can basically AFK on the heals. Oh, Rocket got absolutely dominated there by Lethal. Jeez, that wasn't even close.
I think the damage consistency as Lethal is on 1 HP here, barely making it alive, is probably a little more consistent with that, but it's the window difference that I think ultimately sells it for me. But Ultraviolet will trust him because this is still a really good map for the Illari. Usually gets the Bap Illari, funnily enough. Not too sure if I'm a believer in the Juno Ana look coming through from Nightmare. As I mentioned, Lucio Kiriko probably would have been my read on this, and most teams are playing Lucio Kiriko in general.
Enables Lethal still to play super aggro on the corner too, because you have got that bailout in the grip. All right, High Noon doesn't really get too much, but Painkiller super low. These hacks too, just frustrating. Lucamino at least getting ult. I mean, he's been healing enough. Well, there's the Nano on the Freya. Can actually take down the Admiral. Doesn't look like it. A little manual hack onto Chronic. He's just getting rings run around him at this point. Lethal does end up falling down, but Kuffer is still alive, getting healed up from that pylon. All right, okay. Capture Sun even being used here for UV to get a little bit of mobility. Even a Downpour as well. This is a fight I didn't expect to see on this bigger health pack, I'm going to be honest. He's just perma blocking against Kuffer. Downpour connects with Painkiller, but both tanks bid each other adieu and end up just walking away.
Me, when I play Ram and I don't die because I hold the right click and everyone heals with the EMP. He's still not dying. Yeah. PK's still living.
Nice sleep onto Cover. Surely goes down. He does. Okay, finally. This defense has been cracked wide open as Nightmare. They're struggling against this Lifeweaver.
Well, I'll tell you what, the defense got cracked when Lethal died. The one death, because it takes a while for any defender to be able to reinforce back into the front line with the rest of GK. So you're effectively 4v5 for a while. Nightmare, their spawn is right there. They're going to have their full 5 very quickly. Anyone that dies reinforces straight away. And when a couple of ultimates don't go your way, you have, Captive Sun, Downpour, none of those resulting in EMP. None of those ultimates getting PK down. Painkiller standing strong. Annihilation now ready to play through.
Now you got to make a decision. You got to kill this tree, but I think Lethal has already made their minds up with this High Noon. No damage really there, just a little bit on the shield. That was about it. Annihilation pop from Painkiller. Getting a lot of tick damage, but quickly though, a grip onto Ultraviolet to get him out of danger. Blade has been pulled straight up to the petal, but unfortunately for Rocket, there was no one home. Lethal does end up going down though. A nice little slash from the Genji. And a right click from Chronic will finish off Lethal in the end. Rocket still struggling to find targets, but it's all Painkiller here. At least on this point. Nice little smack to the gob there as Abril falls. That nano boost on Painkiller is going to secure them point.
I'll tell you what, this is going to be a much easier point for them to push through. I think A is where the struggle is. It's too hard to flank, too hard to get angles. You're playing full front to back, and you're not really going to get distance. You're not going to get fight wins that eventually cap unless you can find these picks. You see Admiral, Ultraviolet already swapping off because they know that this is where the Lifeweaver is going to suffer a little bit more, and they don't have the BAP anyway, so just play something more rudimentary. Lucio Kiriko, as mentioned, more common composition, but with Nightmare looking towards ultimates, nearly on orbital. Be a really good fight.
All right, well, Lucamino from across map does end up killing. Oh, so UV kills Lucamino from cross map with the kunai. Orbital Ray, they're just too strong. Ended up kind of flipping the map on Geekay right now, so Geekay need to make a move. They need to find some picks, some sort of, literally anything in this fight. Even holding the space is going to be good, considering your loss of support right now. Nice little Transocare away from Imone, so low HP. And it's getting tagged by Painkiller, just spamming down this choke point as Nightmare just continue their unrelenting assault on Geekay. Even Chronic splitting the team up too in this choke point, using the OC. And look at the split members of Geekay right now. They're in their old spawn.
Yep. And now the EMP coming on through to make it turn things around. Imone, you'll get one. This is good for GK.
Yeah, double DPS down, and I don't think Nightmare are going to be able to stay in this fight. The spawns are too good. Yeah, it looks like Painkiller. Don't think he'll pop Annihilation, even if he does get it. Although saying that, Lucamino is pretty close to this nano as well, so there could be a good case for it. Okay, they rip the rush. Now the Annihilation can come through, but everybody's just going to scatter from the side of GK, and Painkiller just taking infinite damage in the front line. Lucamino and let no sightline to heal their tank.
It would have been really nice to see Painkiller just hold on to the ultimate. You force the rush out of Ultraviolet. That's a huge win in terms of economy. Unfortunately, trading that extra ultimate in is just going to
costs you a little bit here, and also staggers Painkiller a little bit, allows NGK to push on forward, get these extra 2 stagger kills onto the backline of Nightmare. I don't know if they're going to potentially play for the spawn camp here. Still a couple members on the low ground, but they are backing out.
Lethal opening the fight up with an overclock. Wow, Painkiller is taking so much damage. An emergency nano applied to Painkiller. Okay, it might not be too bad as Lethal does end up going down for stepping a little bit too far forward, but sound barrier in response for Geekay. A downpour, not sure who it connected with, but they managed to isolate Chronic and Lucamino. What an impressive sound barrier there from Abril, turning the tempo completely, and now Rocket trying to look for resets off the back of this blade. There's 20 seconds to go, UV is dead, but Nightmare don't have backup. They've got no one near the point right now, and Rocket is in trouble. Ends up getting taken down by the Virus of Buy Mode, who slinks out of there with sub 100 HP.
They have to touch, though. That's the problem. The Payload is really far up. They have Orbital Ray, but where's it going to come from? Really far behind.
It is really far behind, but they do manage to get the touch. 3 people on the point right now for Nightmare. Ultimates for Geekay looking pretty bare right now, but if they can hold on, maybe Mimone gets this EMP. It's a pretty dry fight, so it's a complete skill matchup here, and Mimone ends up going down. Painkiller manages to tag the Sombra just with a generic left click. And so that EMP, get out of jail free card here for Geekay, completely destroyed, although sick. Talking about getting completely destroyed, Lethal with a 90-degree spin around on Rocket ends up blading him in the face.
UV's turn to shine. Cuffer's still alive in here. Mimone's coming back in. Winnable for GK. They can still hold.
Lethal's already gone down. This annihilation on the point is going to be really hard to deal with now as Admiral ends up falling 10% away from that beat. Geekay just inches away from trying to turn around this fight with these ultimates. Ultraviolet's rush now disappearing as the annihilation just continues to rip through Geekay's front line. A minute and 30 seconds. A bloodbath of a second point.
Mimone just lacking a few seconds away from getting the EMP in time. Sees Cuffer's HP a little bit too low. Not enough support to keep things in. And no further contest from GK. The rush timing was brilliant. Lethal getting in a peck to try and release a bit of pressure there as well to give GK the chance to hold. But you could see a situation where 3 ultimates about to come online. A big beat for Admiral could have also been in play. We're going to go over to C now as Nightmare hold on for dear life. A touch into a long-range orbital ray. And a very long fight gets them across the line, but not a lot of time now to cap.
EMP. Oh, disrespect on Rocket there. Solo EMP on the Tracer. Sound barrier for Lucamino, and now they're in no man's land. In enemy territory. Lucamino finds himself on that mini, but that was the only sustain he had there as Cuffer just tears him in half with the Mantis Blades.
Now GK forcing this one to the final fight. 30 seconds remaining. Double Tracers on board. Tracer quite rare on this map, but Mimone's going to swap off of the Sombra finally. Painkiller, first kill. That's opportunity.
Yeah, Lethal maybe a little bit too far up, but again, Geekay trying to go for these tempo sound barriers. Chronic and the backline right now are split, still stuck in the choke point. A pulse bomb onto Cuffer, shrugs it off, holds his arm up, says not today. Painkiller ends up falling, and now who sticks on the point for Nightmare? It's going to be a tough hold. It's going to be an easy hold, sorry, for Geekay. A tough push for Nightmare. Rocket down, Chronic still trying to be the hero that Nightmare need. Lethal ends up getting Suzu'd, saved by Ultraviolet, who takes down Chronic. And that is where the payload will end. Chronic again trying to make a hero play on the fight, on the flank. Says, you know, check this out. And just gets dominated by UV. And Geekay, they hold on a rather tough corner as well.
I will say for Nightmare's credit, given how hard this attacking side was, they got a lot of distance. This is probably, I don't know if they'd be happy with this amount of distance, but I think it's good for the amount of time, given that the Life Weaver, not BAP, but the Lari combination, while not as strong as Life Weaver BAP, still held A aggressively, successfully for a long time. That is the hardest part of the map for Nightmare, and there was still a real possibility that they get full held there. If it wasn't for the one kill onto Lethal that starts to turn things around, that they can play their 5v4. GK never backed out, never gave up space to regroup with Lethal. They wanted to commit further in, which could have been a mistake from GK. Maybe they could have full held if they just backed off, allowed space to come on through. They had plenty of backup space because they didn't even get to the hairpin. They were mostly playing first corner, if you remember. They could have backed out to hairpin, waited for Lethal, and continued the possibility of full hold. But that aside, Nightmare barely even capped B. One of the longest fights that we've seen in that overtime to be able to cap. And let's see if it's enough now, because Did GK even bother running a Life Weaver on attack? I think it's a better defensive comp than offensive comp, although on A, it probably works okay either way. I'm still not entirely sure if I'm convinced by this Juno Ana composition, but I'll need to do a lot on A to be able to win this one. I think this is the point that will make or break this entire map for Nightmare.
Ana at least here does get to set super far back, so a bit better of an advantage for it. See if Lucamino can land some clutch nades. It's decent into the hazard, of course, but
yeah, that's true. There is a Suzu.
Yeah, I mean, forcing out Suzu with nade, I think that's a decent trade. I mean, you're probably not killing the person that's naded, at least not in the front line. So, oh, yikes. Okay, of course, Chronic. Ultraviolet slipping on it a bit there. Gets insta railgun and headshot follow up. All right, okay, good start.
Oh,
okay, Lucamino dies.
Huge. That's actually a really big trade because, like I said, it's the same conversation. You get that one kill on a defensive player, and then suddenly, especially on an Ana, there is just going to be a slowdown. Unless Lep goes back to spawn to taxi, well, you have to use a speed ring for it. You have a bit of a timing advantage here if GK just goes quick.
Very easy corner to kind of push into as well. Oh, Chronic ends up going down to MyMode, who's in the backline currently. No dash out for Rocket. Deflect ends up running out, and the MyMode Genji coming in full force. We spoke to MyMode before about fitting in with this team after Zera's departure, and he said it's been actually fairly easy. Like, of course, the team did end up showing up in a big way against Crazy Raccoon under the old banner, of course. Nightmare, funnily enough, at the China LAN. But you can see how well he's meshed with the team already. Just perfect level of like knowing how much he can like overextend as the supports always seem to bail him out. Rocket ends up going down to Admiral. A little bit of a tough spot for Nightmare to be in now.
Speaking of supports, right? Now the backline under pressure.
Oh,
My
wow.
man ready to play into this. He could even just blade, but he'll wait patiently for the orbital raid to dissipate.
This orbital ray is just so aggro, though. I mean, it's going to keep Painkiller alive on the point, but for how much longer? Lucamino on a beautiful angle on the Ana. The blade is going to come out to try and secure. Don't know who shot the deflects, but MyMode's going to be happy about that. Left ends up going down. He gets a reset to get out of there, and here comes the sound barrier. And that nano boost on Painkiller. It looks good. But everybody's just kiting away from it, using that speed ring. And Cover takes down Lucamino and Rocket, and Painkiller can only watch and stare at the horror and dismay that's happening in his backline right now. Crossing his arms, and there you go. He ends up getting taken out. And that should be the first point taken with a 4-minute time bank.
You might see a full support change up here for the Nightmare side. Kiriko's already here. Let
Like
now.
it.
It will be the Lucio, you'd imagine. So as sort of mentioned there, I think on A, you can have some argument for the Ana, given the long sight lines, given the difficulty of accessing the backline, although we still did see that Cuffer early first blood onto the backline of Nightmare. I say first blood, it was GK's first kill. It's orbital raid time now. Double OCs available as well.
Oh, wow. Okay, Letcourt slipping a little bit there, and unfortunately ends up just going down to MyMode as he just hits a beautiful blade. Oh my goodness. Not even a blade, sorry. It was just some reset dashes there. Rocket pulls his, and MyMode handles him. Super easy, folding him up into a little bit of paper like he's doing some origami. As Geekay now going to push on forward. Look at the ults as well.
Rocket struggled on this Genji as well. He's going to move over towards Tracer, which, as I sort of mentioned, a little bit more unusual for this map, just given the verticality. Genji seems so much stronger, but he's not winning these battles. MyMode's got the better of him. One final contestant here, no ultimates. He's just going to have to go and dry, force out ultimates from GK instead. Find the economic win.
He's got the overclock though, man. I mean, there's nothing you can do. It just feels, the game feels unwinnable when Lethal has this overclock. He's taking down Rocket. That's going to be point 2. Nice deflect kill onto Lucamino as a couple of resets for MyMode.
Yeah.
Will do the rest.
Like I said, economy win is what Nightmare are going for here. They know that it's unlikely they can actually get that fight win, given their lack of resources. Now with Annihilation, they can hold on a little bit longer, but they have to survive against the Blade. It could be beat Blade as well. In fact, I think it should be. Will depend on Admiral's read and the rest of GK and their understanding of how far up Painkiller is on Annihilation. You might want to save the beat for that, but look how close you are to capping. This is why I said A was going to be the linchpin for the map, because I think the rest of the map is so GK favored.
Oh, little wall there. Gets rolled. Cuffer putting up in front of MyMode, who potentially wanted to go in. Force recall of Rocket too. Look at how split they are right now. Can Rocket even make it out alive? probably, but here comes the Blade. Beat Blade, and yeah, save the dash, reset until the very end. Lep ends up going down. Chronic 2 assisting in, Admiral assisting in the Rocket kill, Chronic kill. As now Rocket, last player alive near on that miniature health pack, and Admiral, that might just be it. There's a late rush for Nightmare in the backline, but Lucamino and Painkiller only ones that stand now for Nightmare on that point to hold down the fort. As Geekay are going to put this one in. Lep, well, he can touch, but for how long? I don't know. Well, in fact, he can't. Nice boop, orbital rate in the back pocket as Geekay take match point.
Yep, reverse sweep required now. We're not on the grand finals, it's not BO7. This is difficult spot, given that when these two teams had met before, I mean, it went to all 5, if I remember. That was that week 6 game. So it's a tough look now, and Nightmare, it's an interesting choice for them to choose Circuit. But if I was to steelman them a little bit here, I would say that one of the reasons you might want to see Nightmare go Circuit here is you know that GK will always choose Circuit or a map akin to that if they do lose as a bit of a bailout option. So if Nightmare choose Circuit first and then they get the first ban and they can enable or make sure that one of the BAP or Lifeweaver options is gone, they can maybe get a better run of this map as it's likely to come through anyway. But then you do go to this map, you ban the BAP, and the Lifeweaver still comes through. You struggle on that A point. You're playing Juno Ana, which I think is not particularly good in this current map. I think Lucio Kiriko off the tempo. Lucio getting a buff here as well might have been the better choice. But Cuffer gets unlocked, also on the Hazard. Something that's been banned away on that first map, and just see what he can do. Opens up first kill onto Lucamino's Ana, then suddenly things start to really go the way of GK, and the rest of B and C just looks so good for this team, which is why it really felt like if you're not going to push into OT and win on A, if you don't win on A, at least push into OT. And if that doesn't happen, you just don't have enough time for the Nightmare defense to hold.
Let's talk about it. Let's reflect real quick on that match. Like you were saying, in week 6, GK versus Nightmare went to a map 5, and it kind of started off in a similar way. Like GK, they go to Oasis. They ended up losing around to Nightmare. Not quite the same here. Nightmare end up picking Circuit Royale. They end up banning the Baptiste. And yeah, again, same kind of story. But it was Nightmare that ended up winning. Geekay couldn't quite finish, couldn't quite cross the line. It was Nightmare that took that in a 3-2. And then after that, it was Geekay that took them to King's Row. I don't think Nightmare are going to go there. That was a very easy victory for Geekay as they managed to full hold. They got 3 points on the board, and Nightmare got, well, big fat 0.
That's the thing. You have these very certain GK pocket picks: Circuit Royale, Dorado, King's Row, but even the willingness to bring out the Lifeweaver BAP on control maps as well. So there are these very strong kind of fortress maps for GK that are going to come through. If you start winning maps against them, you know that these picks are going to come through. So I respect that Nightmare will take GK2, one of their good maps, but under their own terms where they get the first ban. So I can see the play there. I can see the vision there. But now, unfortunately, if you don't win that one, you're down 0-2 in the hole. You'll now have it to reverse sweep. New Junk City coming on board. The good news is Tracer once again available for Rocket. Might be a good time to ban Symmetra though, because this is a reasonable Symmetra map for Maimone. Force him back on the Tracer. I think if you're Rocket, you know you can handle Maimone in the Tracer duel. That's probably Rocket's best hero.
Yep.
Just avoiding any sort of Symmetra strikes, given that I think GK are maybe the only team in NA currently still in this playoffs that are most willing to play the Symmetra. It depends. How scared are you of the Symmetra, and do you even think GK will play it?
GK ended up banning Ram in this map when they chose it in that series we were talking about a second ago, and it was a Genji ban for Nightmare. So do you think it's going to be the same thing? Because like you said, Tracer...
The Genji ban kind of forces into Tracer, which I think again would be another good ban because it plays the Rocket's wheelhouse. I don't think he did perform particularly well on the Genji on Circuit Royale, just why you start to see him just swap back over to Tracer a number of times. There's also the willingness for Maimone to play Sombra today, but it depends on how much Freya there's going to be. The Sombra really is coming through just to the Freya and make sure it doesn't play it. And Sombra could be pretty reasonable on New Junk City. Now, I'm not enjoying the Sombra gameplay overall for Maimone in terms, you know, the base. The value is going to be there. It is going to put pressure on the Chronic, and that's enough. But we're not seeing, like, you know, super god tier Sombra. This is definitely not lip POV. Don't worry about it. But, probably pushing this towards a Tracer matchup could be a winning play for Rocket and the team.
I'm just taking a sneak peek. Bans coming in. Nightmare banning Cassidy, and then a Kiri ban for Geekay.
So that means we're going to, and you want to get rid of Lethal, who we actually saw on map 1 put into Painkiller. I believe Lethal was on Cass all 3 rounds, which is interesting because City Center, you would have made a good one for, you know, Sojin or Freya given the verticality, but, you know, he held strong. He was willing to play through the Cass the entire way through. Painkiller did struggle in that matchup. Painkiller wants to get back on Orisa as soon as possible, which does mean that if you're on this map, there might not be a cast, but I'm going to be looking at my moan. Does he pull through on the sim? That's a really good pick into the Orisa specifically.
I mean, if we're in EU, then I'd be like, yeah, this is sim. This is a sim mirror for sure. But like you said, my moan being one of the only players really playing a lot of sim, especially in playoffs. Let's have a look. This pick also pretty viable too. I mean, we spoke about this on the last New Junk City. I think we casted.
Yeah.
About the venture.
But the problem is, I don't know if he has much to really counter the backline. I think you can, or Rogers in general, because if Painkiller gets a good spear off, it could be problematic. Now, the good news is, because there's no cast, that improves my moan's matchup. He has to be very good and solid in the backline. You can also pressure out Rocket, which is nice. Venture into Tracer, specifically in close range. It's kind of favored for the venture, but it's Lep and Luke Mino that my moan has to focus on.
Very good into the BAP, like you were saying too. Like popping down that lamp, it's not great when you just get instantly displaced out of it and then you're just dominated by the venture. Quick wrap around here as Mimo not taking an off angle just yet. More happy to play in the front line, but Chronic full railgun charge to aim at W Mimo in there, but doesn't end up hitting it.
Just pop up.
Oh, wow.
Instant lamp. Look at that. The
instant lamp.
Lamp straight away.
Okay, well, Lucamino doesn't end up going down, so yeah, not great for Nightmare's chances. Although saying that, Chronic, of course, coming up with the goods. Takes down Ultraviolet, but now he's trying to backpedal as fast as possible. No Painkiller on the front line means less support for you if you get run at.
It's also one of the better rounds for the venture to come through. Closer range, more cover to play in. A little bit of high ground verticality as well to play up and down. So first fight going GK. Admiral, 71% left. Struggling here a little bit. Luke Mino dying first, but despite that, finding a bit of a gap between him and Ultraviolet. This could just be the difference in healing, where Admiral's getting more healing down on GK, whereas Luke Mino's getting more healing down on Nightmare.
Yeah, a lot more to heal on the Orisa as well, to be fair, because Cover's playing around the shield a lot of the time. Oh, here's the burrow for Mimo. Yeah, it gets out of there, though. Saving that drill dash. Looks like this window is going to not mean anything, really, for Nightmare. It looks like Geekay just ran away, and Rocket ends up going down anyway. And a quick ring around the Rosie is Mimo is tailing Lucamino. My word. Okay, Lucamino, unfortunately now with the lamp, he isn't going to last long. One punch, and that's gone. And this is Geekay kind of running away with this one. This might just be the first point.
And they'll do it without spending ultimate. That's the really important part of GK, because typically you would have expected double support ultimates, at least one of them to come through. Luke Mino already burnt a window, and they'll win this one. Burning the window, not spending anything in response. Until now, okay. Ultraviolet's going to respect it.
Sound barrier actually coming in. Oh, what a shot. All right, Rocket's not going to be able to assist in this fight. And that annihilation on the point. Yeah, it's over. They do end up expending a fair bit there, both support ult and the tank ult, but you do end up forcing Lep to use his. So, you know, kind of a trade there. I don't hate it.
I think the 1-for-1 trade against Lep would have been fine, but the extra, rather even 2-for-1 double support ultimate for Lep, given that Luke Mino used earlier, but extra annihilation, unnecessary from my POV there. GK nearly actually got away, as I mentioned, with using 0 ultimates and cleaning up the first round, but given that there was a touch from Rocket and the fight continued, GK felt the need to play through more.
Okay. The Tracer running around lethal. Oh, Terror Surge. Lines him up for that one. Lep ends up just finishing off with a single Cheerio. Both Sojins now down. Mimone with that ult. That Tectonic Shock is kind of rippling through the backline, although it's ran out now as the Burrow ends up putting himself on the point. And unfortunately for Painkiller, kind of isolated, but they do manage to find a pick. Ultraviolet down, and this fight is rather scrappy, but GK are on the point. Pulse bomb in the hands of Rocket with a recall to work with as well. Admiral gets chunked and finished off eventually. And Rocket just kind of going to town. In fact, solo operator for the Nightmare. and only need to expend the recall. Okay, saved pulse.
That's what I'm talking about, right? This is a much better situation for Rocket. He wants to play Tracer on this map, and Imo now swapping off. This is one of the more difficult rounds, points rather, I think, for the Venture. You want a little closer space to close that gap. You want the open space of this bomb flats, which, as we found out in the dip video, there's actually a giant bomb on the point, which I didn't realize for a couple of years.
Oh, whoopsie daisy. Rocket ends up getting taken down, just battle rifled by Ultraviolet. Now it's Mimo's time to come alive on the Tracer. Window's going to get used. Mimo dodging out of the side of it. Doesn't want to get one tap though by Chronic, so gets out. Bit of an awkward angle for Chronic to look through, but still, fair few players kind of stepping in his direction. Oh, what a shot at Lucamino. Straight through the window, shattering it in two as Ultraviolet takes a headshot. And now Geekay, again, they're going to struggle to kind of keep themselves on this point. There's no supports for Nightmare, but the survivability, the sustain from the Orisa and Rocket is good. Low Lethal's still up. I mean, he ends up getting Terror Surge pulled in, and there it is. There's the kill that they required. As Nightmare, they do end up losing eventually, but they get it to OT.
Look at Cover. He just lives on 1 HP, goes to Nemesis form in time to receive the armor, still has the Annihilation for the emergency, which he does pull through. Also waiting for respawns from GK to flip that point. And despite all the heroics of Chronic, so reliable on that overclock, it's not enough. I was even going to comment on the previous fight. Nightmare started to look like they had a pretty reasonable economic advantage as far as the ultimates goes, but that's flipped now. Point flips, and GK are going to come in with a reasonable amount also, including this OC.
Oh, double tap on Lucamino. Lep, like a couple of percentage points away from that sound barrier, so... Oh, good shot from Lethal. Man. Crispy.
Crazy timing. Lep was 98. So was Animal. Both are Lucios. Not quite there. Chronic late death, which is essentially going to force this one into the last fight now. Chronic, he survived. Maybe touch a little bit sooner. They will have enough time to touch, especially with the Tracer.
Okay, no Ajaxes. Please. Final fight here. GK looking to put themselves on map point, match point, every kind of point. Overtime triggered. Sound barrier connects from Lep. Hits 5, but Painkiller almost already dead. Just getting hard focused. Sound barrier from Abo is going to connect as well. I mean, that's it. That's point. 2-0 currently. New Junk City. Nightmare. They got nothing. It feels like they're out of this series already. Avril is one more point to go. And this will be a final spot secured for GK.
You say, hopefully no Ajaxes. I cast Overwatch to see the Ajaxes personally. We are not the same. I welcome them. But you're right. 0-2. Nightmare. They're going to play their own life. No, just a little bit of spawn tech. Still get baited by those sometimes, but like with BAP, I mean, it is a viable composition. Just not Nightmare's style. A window to play through, but a lot more coming on for GK. Annihilation is going to be rough when you don't have a sound barrier. You don't have the counter there. You don't have anything to stop it. But Cutlass just dies. Wow.
Yeah, Duke got insta-popped. Unlucky. Lucamino needs to stay alive. Hasn't got shift. He's got that extra perk, though, giving him a bit more aerial mobility, so he's good. Oh, Ultraviolet! What the hell? What's Bro doing up there? Okay, he's dead. All good. Use the window on top of one of those little pylon things and ends up taking down one. Tried to clutch it out. Didn't end up working.
That's an expensive way to try and clutch. He will even himself out on ult charge, essentially with Lucamino. This gives a great opportunity for Nightmare. Bring things back a little bit. Would have been safer for GK to just reset there, or if Ultraviolet and Lethal rather could use that together. That's a brilliant stuff.
That was gross.
UV was.
Annihilation for Cup. Wow, he just insta-killed Lucamino and Lep. Okay, goodbye. Goodbye, backline. Yeah, see you in Overwatch 3, big guys. All right, Geekay, they're going to take the points, and Nightmare only getting 39%. Oh, they're going to stagger Painkiller too. Yeesh. He said.
It's interesting that we're now also in a situation where, you know, we're well and far and removed from the Painkiller Orisa. The fact that you have this cast ban, in my opinion, to enable the Orisa. You want to play Painkiller's best hero. Now we're stuck into a round where you're playing GK's game. Full mirror composition. Chronic on OC. If there's one play you can rely on to bail you on, it has to be Chronic. He's got to save the day again. Admiral's 88. Doesn't have sound barrier. This is the opportunity.
Oh, Lep. Kind of dominated in the Ravenous Vortex there. That pulse bomb didn't connect, but it didn't need to. The floor pulse was enough. Chronic now incredibly low HP. Annihilation pulled by Painkiller to try and save the day, but Admiral has the perfect response. Sound barrier coming in, the focus fire on the Ram, and Geekay are going to do it. A 3-0 on New Junk City to 3-0 the series. A rematch ahead of them in the finals as they eliminate Nightmare.
GK are not satisfied with yesterday's result, losing to Team Liquid 1-3. They're thinking we could have done a lot better, and I think the rest of us, the audience included, agree with that statement, and they want to make that statement happen, starting with Nightmare. Clean 3-0. Do not want to give any quarter at all to this Nightmare squad, who yesterday defeats SSG, qualifies into mid-season championship. Still, I want to point out a huge win for the team. They couldn't take down GK, who looked to be on a different level alongside Team Liquid, but a big run for Nightmare this stage so far. They still had to go over to a major, a huge win specifically for players like Rocket, who missed out last year. So close on Timeless, on TSM, had a couple of good runs, just kind of going awry for the team and for himself specifically. So they'll get that done, but really the story is on GK. They look better than yesterday. They're not playing the Malga comps anymore. Strategy looks solid to me.
Now GK won their revenge against Team Liquid. Team Liquid won against them 3-1 yesterday. And this next series is going to be a 1-4. GK, they want to round out this with a win. They went perfect in the regular season and currently have only lost one single series. We'll see how that ends up shaping up. But before we get there, we'll jump over to Zoe and the rest to join us for that grand finals. It's going to be a good one. Don't go anywhere.
Thank you so much. Welcome back to the desk. Zoe here, joined by Rich as well as Johnny to help me make it make sense. Because this was a very different Geekay squad we saw today versus yesterday. Also, Johnny, low-key criminal of us to not even mention Maimon when it comes to superstars in the NA region. In hindsight,
A little bit respectful. I don't regret my Kaffa pick, but if you guys or maybe want to change any of yours,
I don't think we can.
Into the mix there, because like I said when we talked about the stage nominees, obviously like Maimone's played some of this Sombra as well, and it's been a game changer for this team. But I think you saw on Circuit Royale as well, Maimone was just on fire on the Genji, combining with Kaffa on the Hazard, and the dives were really key to dealing with the double flex support backline from Nightmare. And so GK, they just adapted perfectly, and they punished what Nightmare were trying to do. So the fact that Nightmare are so adaptable to what Nightmare were trying to pull off in the moment, really respectable and a great 3-0 win to build on yesterday's loss. Maybe a little bit of a different day today, and maybe they can bring it all home.
Well, and you mentioned about the Hazard, and we're going to be taking some highlight looks at it here, and it really just looked substantially better. I mean, there was just the Malga that was, I mean, even Abra was talking about it, that the Malga just didn't seem like it really landed. It didn't really work that well. They had rotated through 11 different heroes yesterday in the match against Team Liquid. It just felt like it didn't have a solid stability in their decision-making, but this looks very different. Again, they're going to have to go against them now in the grand finals, but in addition to not only Kuffa and what we were able to see, at least from the Hazard and the Ram today, also Lethal again was just disgusting. From the control map that we had, where it was a double support pick out the gate towards that tail end of the fight in one of the rounds, and then also just carrying over that potency throughout the rest of these three to get them into a position of a 3-0 to enter into that grand finals.
That's right. Lethal, our nominee for NA Star Player, is also our player of the match, given the performance he just put on. And yeah, I mean, this is the Geekay we saw all stage long, right? They were just popping off, firing in all cylinders.